Last night, I spent about an hour cleaning up this toolbox we picked up yesterday. It's still pretty dirty, but I got all the tools taken out, so I'm gonna blow it down with the compressor and clean it up, get it put in place. Out of all of these tools, the sockets, wrenches, this is the only stuff I'll be throwing away. The ratchet doesn't work, the knife doesn't work. All these bits and bolts are all rusted out, but instead of throwing them in the garbage, I'm gonna throw them in my scrap pile so they don't go to waste. We're gonna go through this box as well, all kind of tools and parts in it. Fire on the lights, let some sunshine in. It's a bit chilly out here, but at least the wind's not blowing very hard like yesterday. I'm gonna actually get back into repairing this machine. I gotta swap the transmission. So we're gonna set it on its side and start dismantling it. Put a piece of foam down, that way we're not scratching it up. I've already taken the top end off and the agitator off Friday, but I haven't got farther than that. I'm gonna use a 5/16, take the 2 screws off to the cover, then we'll remove the belt. Probably go ahead and remove the motor to make it a little bit lighter, disconnect everything, see what we can do. Got the cover and belt off. Went ahead and loosened up the 2 bolts to the motor using a 13mm. Got the wires disconnected, set them to the side. Once we get the motor off, it's just 4 bolts holding the transmission in place. Hopefully it'll come out nice and easy. There we go. These are the bolts. I decided to just go ahead and remove the pump. That way we don't risk damaging it. I got one of the screws removed. Let's get these last 2 taken off. Should come out nice and easy. Up. It's on there pretty tight. There it goes. We'll get it out the way. Next up, using a 10mm, we're gonna get these bolts removed. Now, let's try to get this transmission out. Most of the time, it doesn't come too easy. This ain't no exception. The shaft of this transmission is already broke, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. Hopefully it'll make the job a little bit easier for us. I probably should have took this hub off. If I can't get it out any easier, I probably will take it off. The transmission was not coming out easy, even after I took the shaft out. So plan B, we're gonna take the hub off. That way we're not trying to force anything to break anything. This plastic clip goes in here using a flathead. I pried it out. Now we got 6 Phillips heads that we're gonna take off. And then that hub should come off. One of the main reasons I didn't want to have to take the hub off is because they don't come out easy. They're plastic, they get gunked on there after so much usage. And if you force it just a little bit too much, the plastic breaks. That's all right though, I have these hubs, so we'll get it replaced. This is all that's left of it. We got it taken off. Transmission should come out now. I went ahead and took the plastic ring to the top of the drum off. I put an X here and an X here on the body. That way I know which way it needs to go back on. This way, I can go ahead and pull this drum out. It'll make installing the new transmission a lot easier. What a task this was. The transmission is out. It's sitting underneath the machine. I had to get a little innovative. I put a cinder block under each side to prop the machine up. Got the big hammer. Got this socket with the extension that can fit perfectly in this hole without damaging the drum. And we beat it through. In order for the transmission to have enough clearance though, I had to lift the machine up a bit. Now we should be able to get the drum out, replace the transmission, and we'll probably have to replace the seal as well. It is never easy dealing with these washers, especially the used ones, because after years of usage, they always get gunked up. But I was kind of expecting that. Now that we can get the drum out, we should be able to replace the transmission. Yup, it's out. Looks like the drum, the plastic outer drum, is in good shape. Really glad about that. I was kind of worried we might have broke it. You can tell this machine has had quite a bit of usage. We'll get this drum cleaned up. This is a bird's eye view. Here's the outer drum. Shaft is out. We'll probably have to replace the seal here. Let's get to it. Got the machine set back on its side. Here's the transmission. You can see all that caked up rust, which was making it a lot harder to get it off. But we'll take the shifter off. And these plastic pieces, put them on the new transmission, start installing it. After all that work, I thought I had a transmission for this machine. That's the only reason I went into doing this, but turns out I don't. This is the one I was gonna use. This is the original one. Slightly different. It's got a different size seal, and those seals are not interchangeable, so it won't work in this machine or you're gonna have a big leaking issue. We're gonna have to take a pause on this for now. I'm gonna try to hunt down another one if I can. Maybe strip one out of another machine. Looks like my dad already let the sheep out to free range. I was getting ready to do that. I went out to my scrap pile. I found another transmission in a machine. I pulled it out. It came out pretty easy. Didn't have to do as much as I did to this one, but it's still not going to work. This thing has got a big seal on it, and the original one has got this small seal on it. I've looked into seeing if I can maybe take that seal off, but it's built onto the shaft, and even if I get it off, chances are it will not seal properly. It'll just leak water, and then that defeats the purpose of trying to repair the machine. I'm all out of options as far as ripping transmissions off of scrap machines. My best option is going to be to put this thing back together, or at least rally up all these parts and set it to the side until I can find a transmission for it. I got all the parts put together. I got the transmission bolt here, motor, pump, capacitor, everything I need, and that I took off. Even kept the hub. That way I have a reference to go off of. They're not all the same. They make different versions. But I will get this machine repaired. The only problem is the transmission. The shaft is broke, but everything else works on the machine, so I'm sure I'll run across it. I'm going to transition into cleaning up this toolbox. Got some daylight left. Woo, pretty dusty. So the ground isn't perfectly level here. Let's see what we can do to slide this piece of wood under. This is what I'm going to do. Slid this toolbox over. The ground isn't perfectly level, but I found this piece of wood here. I'm going to have to find a little shim to go under this. So that way I have a little table to set parts on, screws as I'm working. Find a little piece. Here's the new setup. Just slid that one over. I had to do a little bit of shimming to kind of even them out. My ground is not perfectly level, but it works. All I need is a spot to put my tools, put parts and screws as I'm working. So let's move on to something else. We got some daylight left. I got this old mason jar, and I got these old drill bits that I found in that toolbox I cleaned out. You never know. Well, that did not go as planned. Broke it. Of course. It's just one of those days today. But I also found this box of different chain hooks and metal wire connectors. So I'm gonna have to find a good home for them because we always need this stuff. We got a little bit of daylight left. We're gonna get out here and run our sprints for today. We'll be back out here tomorrow. Let's get the shop closed down.